Hello and welcome to Sincerely Elvis Presley. I'm Sean. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're all doing okay. Here in the UK, it's a bank holiday weekend, and at the moment, amazingly, the sun is in the sky. So because it's feeling very spring-like, my only agenda for us today is to take a look at some really nice, pretty coloured vinyl. That's it. By and large, when I've done videos in the past, I've always tried, if possible, to give it a bit of context to do with what releases were out at the time, what Elvis's career, whatever. That's not going to happen today. All we're going to do is look at pretty coloured vinyl, just because. And it's funny, really, because when you look at the resurgence in vinyl over the last decade or so, coloured vinyl's everywhere. For all sorts of artists, and Elvis especially, and I absolutely love it. If a release is coming out in black vinyl and colour vinyl, I'm going to get colour vinyl every time. Now I think if you go back into the mists of time, if you like, coloured vinyl wasn't as good as black vinyl in the old days. Black vinyl was better quality, but I think that's a thing of the past now. In fact, by and large, I think most of us will agree that quality vinyl is hard to get these days. Only to Kurt in the comments on my last video, we were saying how the quality control just doesn't seem to be there these days. New vinyl comes out and you take it out of the sleeve and you can see scuff marks where it's been put in. The days of the real craftsmen that used to press vinyl, I think unfortunately are gone. They got rid of it. It's come back, but it's not always got that quality control, unfortunately. And if you look back into the past, when I was collecting Elvis first time around in the 70s, there wasn't a tremendous amount of coloured vinyl, certainly not in my recollection. You had the Canadian gold pressings that came out in 78. And then you had Legendary Performer Volume 3 that came out on a picture disc, and you did get the odd piece of coloured vinyl, but it was pretty rare. And I was at school at the time. My school friend was into heavy metal, and I remember sort of coveting the pretty coloured vinyls that he got for bands like Iron Maiden, Motorhead, and that kind of thing, that always seemed to have coloured vinyl, but Elvis didn't have as much. And if I kind of work out why I'm so in love with coloured vinyl these days, I think it goes back further, but probably before I discovered Elvis. In the UK, we had a toy, a doll, if you like, called Action Man. In the States, it was G.I. Joe, and Action Man was our version. And I used to swap bits and pieces of equipment and outfits and accessories with friends. And I got this Action Man communication field radio backpack thing as part of a swap for something. I think it was a boat or something. And with it, because I don't think the backpack itself worked properly, but with it came these little coloured discs. I'll put an example of them on the screen. And they, I loved these things. I was fascinated by them. They were like little LPs in different colours. And I almost think, somewhere in my mind, coloured vinyl triggers memories of way back then. You know how we all, when we get to a certain age, some people collect toys or whatever, you kind of gravitate to things that remind you of those happy childhood or childhood. Obviously not everyone's childhood was happy, but a lot of people tend to gravitate back to those things they remember from childhood. And I think my love of coloured vinyl kind of goes back to that sort of toy backpack in a way. But anyway, what I wanted to look at first was this beautiful box set that came out in 2001. This was the first real stab at issuing Elvis's singles, number one hit singles, UK number one hit singles. So you remember in 2005 when they brought out the CDs every week with Elvis UK number ones. Well, this was way before that. This was the first version of this came out in 2000, and it was black vinyl. And then just over a year later, they re-released it on coloured vinyl. Now this I picked up, I was lucky enough to get this, because it can go for quite a bit of money, But this version, I got it sealed, and I think I paid about £50. And the only reason it was reduced is there's a bit of a bump at the corner, but because it's kind of a velvet suede effect box, you don't really notice it that much. So, you know, I could live with that. But each one of these, each single is a different colour, and I think it's beautiful. So we're going to take a quick look at this. So you got your booklet that came with it, listing all your singles, and that opened out into an information sheet, and something like that, which was nice. But what's even nicer is the singles themselves. So they came, as the black vinyl versions, they came in nice, thick, robust replicas of the original sleeves, because of course in the UK we didn't get picture sleeves. We didn't get picture sleeves until the late 60s into the 70s, and even then the first few releases all had the same sleeve but with just different song titles on, which was a bit of a cop-out. But here's our first one, All Shook Up, and that's when your heartaches begin. And this comes on a rather fetching red. Second one, Jailhouse Rock and Treat Me Nice. And we get sort of, it is yellow. It's almost a limey yellow. But they have like, you can't really see it, I don't think, but they have like a marbling effect if you hold them up to the light as well. Really, really nicely done. Number 3, One Night and I Got Stung. And that gives us a sort of pale blue. And I think you can probably, there you go, I think you can get the effect of the marbling just catching the light there. They're really, really beautiful. I love this set. Then we've got A Fool Such As I and I Need Your Love Tonight. And there we get a darker blue. And you should catch, if I can get it right, you should catch that marbling effect there. So we get dark blue. It's Now or Never and Make Me Know It. And then we do get a lime. It's a really nice lime. Proper lime, that is. Beautiful, aren't they? Are You Lonesome Tonight? I Gotta Know. And that's on camera it looks a sort of aqua, but it is quite green in the flesh. But can you get the marbling? You get the idea of the marbling. Okay, so what we got next, we have Wooden Heart and Tonight Is So Right for Love on purple. And I think in its own way, this is easily as nice of the CD box set of the one that came out a few years later. What we got? Surrender and Lonely Man. And this is a sort of pale lilac. Marie's the name of his latest flame. Little Sister. And that's a sort of I'd say sort of cerise. A very sort of dark pinky colour, that one. Rockahula Baby. Can't Help Falling in Love. And that's a sort of very sort of pale, it's going to look cream on camera, but there is a sort of salmon pink effect going on there in the flesh. Good Luck Charm. Anything That's Part of You. Get orange. Tangerine, I'd say. And you know, the quality, the thickness of the sleeves, the reproduction of the original labels, absolutely superb. So She's Not You. Just Tell Us Jim Said Hello. And this is a sort of, I'd say a beigey colour. We'll come back to beige later. There was nothing beige about Elvis though, was there? As we know. Return to sender. Where do you come from? And this one is a marbled white, creamy sort of white. You're the devil in disguise. Please don't drag that string around. And that's a very, very deep burgundy sort of wine, although it looks lighter on camera. Crying in the Chapel. I Believe in the Man in the Sky. Sort of, again, that looks blue on camera, but here it's a very sort of turquoise aqua colour. And then we move on to the 70s RCA sleeves, and we move on to the orange labels. Again, really nice thick sleeves, beautiful replica label, and we've got The Wonder of You and Mama Like the Roses, and this is a sort of real yellowy mustard cream. And last but not least, way down, Pledging My Love. And this is very similar to the last one. Very similar indeed. It's just slightly darker. I don't know if that's coming off on camera, but I don't know what happened there. I think they got to that stage and had run short of colours or something, because those two are very similar. But I think you'll agree, what a fantastic set. Of course, at this stage, it was 2001, so it was 17 UK number ones, because it wasn't until the following year that A Little Less Conversation remix got to number one. So when they issued the CD box in 2005, it was 18 number ones. But just glorious package. So when I got hold of this about a year and a half ago, I've been meaning to sort of get it out and show it. I know Mark's Elvis for Everyone channel, Mark had the black version. I think other people have probably shown a colour version. But it got me thinking about other Elvis 45s that were released in coloured vinyl. And these go back earlier. So when I was talking about Canada issuing the gold vinyl albums, Canada really liked their coloured vinyl, because we go to 78, I believe most of these are 78, these few here, and they were pumping out quite a lot. They all had this special limited edition on them. So you've got here My Way and America, and this was red vinyl. Now these would, at the time in 78, if I'd have got my hands on these would have seemed really exotic, but I don't recall sort of seeing them in the flesh anywhere in record shops or anything. So, I'm guessing here in the UK they were a little bit harder to get hold of, because I certainly never had them. So we've got My Way and America in red vinyl. Then we've got Unchained Melody and Softly As I Leave You. And you see that it's got the similar sort of, that one said special limited edition, this is limited white edition, but they look very similar the way they're laid out. So this one was in really nice white vinyl. And then they put one out in the, to promote the rather terrible concept of Elvis Sings for Grown-Ups and Children too. So this is Teddy Bear and Puppet on a String. They're very thick card sleeves, the Canadian ones, and that was on green vinyl. Then there was one to promote the Elvis a Canadian tribute that was gold vinyl. So this was Little Darling and I'm Moving On. And appropriately, to promote the gold vinyl album, it was on gold vinyl, and it came with the same shot and kind of label as that album had, and a lot of those gold vinyl represses had. And then we're back to beige. This was a very strange choice. So to promote our memories of Elvis, we got Are You Sincere and Solitaire, a limited beige edition, it boldly claimed. What a strange colour to choose for vinyl. Of all the colours you could have, beige. Very strange, but there it is in all its beige glory. It's even more beige than the beige that was in that set. So there's your beige Are You Sincere and Solitaire. Then we sort of jump into the 80s a little bit. We're sort of mid-80s. I think most of these were mid-80s. This one 84. And a lot of these were issued, again, to promote the album releases that were coming out. So this is, these are all US, I believe. This is Baby Let's Play House and Hound Dog to promote the Golden Celebration from the forthcoming multiple record package. Elvis Presley, a Golden Celebration. So because it's celebrating a Golden Celebration, of course, we get gold, the same kind of gold that the Canadian releases came in. That's Baby Let's Play House and Hound Dog. Then we get this one. I'm not sure off the top of my head what this was promoting. Was Rocker? I think Rocker was later than this. Blue Suede Shoes and Promised Land. It doesn't tell me. It's 1984 again. So, as I said, I just kind of thought we'd do this, look at the colours. So I haven't really done any prep. Useless, I know. But at least I'm here. And this is a sort of nice turquoise aqua. Looks more blue on camera. But it's a sort of teal colour. So that's really nice. I think that might have been for the Rocker album. Because the font and everything's the same. So the Rocker compilation. I think it was. Then to promote the Always On My Mind compilation with the rather sort of neon strange effect artwork reflected in this, we get Always On My Mind and My Boy from the album Elvis Always On My Mind. And this is in purple with the 50th anniversary label on, and there was a variant, a US variant of that album that was in purple as well, so this is used to reflect that. There was also the clear vinyl variant and the black vinyl. So, Always On My Mind. Then, to promote, we have two albums promoted on this one, Reconsider Baby and the Christmas album, which would be the green vinyl 50th anniversary reissue. So this is from 1985, and this is Merry Christmas Baby and Santa Claus is Back in Town. Fabulous combination for a single, and you see they plug two releases on that one, and this is in green as the Christmas reissue was in green, and this one is actually a promo. This is a not for sale promo that we've got there. Looks kind of sort of turquoisey on camera. It's actually more green in the flesh. It's funny how they change a little bit. So there's a sort of bunch there that came out to promote albums of the time in the mid-80s. And there was a reissue. This came out in two sets in the US. There were two sets of reissued Elvis albums on red vinyl, and then there were two sets of singles. And they were beautifully reproduced. I mean, I've only pulled one of them out. I've got a fair few of them. In fact, I've got a fair few of them. They were issuing them at the time framed and limited editions. Some company had obviously got hold of the box sets, split them up, and issued them as frames with the red vinyl and the sleeves. But this is just an example of one of them. This is Ain't That Lovin' You Baby and Ask Me. But you know, the reproduction of the sleeves is fantastic, and they were all on red vinyl with, you know, authentic US reproduction labels. So that's that series. And then we've got two here that came out. Now, I think these came out as part of a box set that was issued by Paul Dowling, a famous Elvis record collector and dealer, who put out a book, Elvis record covers, and I think these came out in a box set with that originally. Although these are official releases, these have got the BMG logo on, and they are promoting Platinum, A Life in Music. So I don't know this. I'm not sure about these. I'm pretty sure they came in that box set, but whether they were issued for that box set or they just happened to, you know, get put into that, I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments if anyone knows. But we've got here King of the Whole Wide World and King Creole, and this one is the gold, the limited edition gold vinyl. So we've got a really nice kind of nod towards the RCA Victor labels, but we get this one in red with yellow writing, which is very, very nice. So these ones are, they do come up, but they are a little harder to get hold of. So that's that version of King of the Whole Wide World and King Creole. And then there was this version, and this version is the promotional red vinyl. We've still got the bit, because it does say project coordinator Paul Dowling, art direction Jimmy Carpenter. I believe Jimmy Carpenter's the one that does a lot of the FTD vinyl sleeves, and photo JOT publishing. So a lot of Elvis names involved. Beautiful, beautiful covers. And I think this one we actually get a reproduction in the sleeve. We may have been one with that other one, and I just don't have it. But yeah, and we get the reverse. So this time we get the yellow label with the red writing. Really, really nice releases, these two. Really nice. So there's that. Then I've got a couple of bootlegs to show. These are, I believe, Japanese. These came out from the same company that produced the reproductions of Rock and Roll numbers 1 and 2 in Japan in different coloured vinyls. They've got really, really authentic reproduction sleeves. For all the world appear to be HMV releases, and you get really nice multicoloured sort of marbled vinyl with reproduction HMV labels. So they are 100% bona fide boots, because, you know, for all the world they look as if they're HMV. So I've got that one, Love Me Tender, and I've got that one, this one, the Good Rockin' Tonight EP. Again, just complete boot. This is on a nice sort of marbled multicoloured pink with the HMV label, completely and utterly unofficial, but rather nice. Although listening, that the sound quality on these is it's more to do with the pressing. I think they don't sound great. And just to finish off, you see there's always a motorcycle goes by when I do my videos. It's don't know why, but you probably can't even hear it on video. Think, what's he going on about? Anyway, there's a set here. Now there's been loads of these issued, and it's VPI Culture Factory. They've been doing these over the last few years. I think there's at least 10 or more now of different EPs that they put out, and they put each one out in at least 3 or 4 different variants of vinyl. And some of them are limited to 200, some are only limited to 100. So this one, original EP, limited edition, 200 copies, red vinyl, 1 pressing. And, you know, they take, by and large, they take Japanese, Italian releases and give you the authentic sleeve. Some of them have authentic inner sleeves, some of them don't. You get authentic label reproductions. Whoops. This one's RCA Italiana extended play, and this one's red vinyl. But these are really, really nice. They're not cheap. When they come out, they tend to retail for about the £20 mark. So I tend to sort of hold off until, you know, someone's got older stock and selling them off. So most of these I've sort of paid maybe the 10 up to 15. But they're really nice reproductions. I've got a few of them. There's that one. There's this one, which is limited edition, 200 copies, white vinyl, 1 pressing. This is Good Rockin' Tonight and I Don't Care If the Sun Don't Shine, Japanese reproduction. And I think this one might have an inner sleeve, or has it? Yes. So reproduction of the original Japanese issue. And we should have the Victor label on white vinyl. Really, really thick vinyl, these as well. Actually, so was that box set. So there's the Japanese one. I think this one might be a Japanese as well. Yeah, Victor. So this is Anywhere You Want Me, and I'm Left, You're Right, She's Gone, I Don't Care If the Sun Don't Shine, and Mystery Train. And this is limited edition, 200 copies, translucent vinyl, 1 pressing. I think this one came off Amazon. I think I've got a couple off Amazon actually. This one doesn't have the inner sleeve, but it's got the solid Victor label and completely see-through. Really like these, you know, it'd be nice to have them all, but there are so many. As I said, I think there's 4 or 5 variants of most of them in different colours. So you'd have, yeah, it'd turn out quite costly if you wanted to collect them all. Now this one is I Need You So, Have I Told You Lately That I Love You, Blueberry Hill, and Don't Leave Me Now. This is another Italiana, and this is limited to 100 copies, translucent, yellow translucent vinyl. And yellow translucent amounts to that RCA Italiana. Beautiful stuff. There's a couple more of these that I have. You know, they're the sort of thing I will pick up if I see them cheap enough. But as I said, it will cost a lot to collect them all because they are expensive new. They can run up to £25 for a single. Okay, this is another RCA Italiana. This is I Got Stung, One Night, Don't, and Blue Moon, the Presley special. And this, I love this one. This we're not going to be able to tell, but limited edition, 100 copies, glow in the dark vinyl. Love it, luminous vinyl. I haven't actually got this out in the dark to see if it works properly, but I'll take their word for it that this is glow in the dark vinyl. But obviously we can't see in the light. And the last one of these I have is back to Japan again, and this is Kiss Me Quick and Suspicion, limited edition, 100 copies, highlighter yellow, translucent vinyl, no less. Highlighter yellow, I like that. I think we get the Japanese sleeve, look, really nicely reproduced. Victor label, and it's very stuck. So this is our highlighter yellow translucent vinyl, which doesn't look a tremendous different. It's more sort of limey actually in the flesh. I suppose it is highlighter. Yeah, they're really nice. I really like those. And just wanted to finish off, as we were talking, so we've been talking singles, I just want to finish off with a special mention to these two, which are, so, you know, we saw with the reissues in the box set of the original sleeves that we got in the UK for RCA. And what I like is when they reissued, and this is I think this is the Royal Philharmonic, when they issued If I Can Dream and Bridge Over Troubled Water, they reproduced the original RCA sleeve, but kind of made it an Elvis sleeve. So, you know, Elvis Presley, it's got it on it. These were limited numbered editions, but I think that's a really nice adaptation of the original sleeve to make it a special Elvis sleeve. I really was impressed with that, and you got the RCA label. But unfortunately, as good as this is, the Americans went one better. So for If I Can Dream, although it didn't have Bridge Over Troubled Water on its B-side, it had Anything That's Part of You, but this was their RPO release, and this was for Record Store Day. I mean, look at that sleeve. It's so achingly cool. You know, that's Elvis when he was recording the soundtrack for the 68 special. But has anyone ever looked cooler than that? I mean, no one's ever looked cooler than Elvis anyway, but that sleeve. Now this is really nicely put together. I really do like this release. And this, as I say, is a Record Store Day US release, and this is one of the very few records I have that's still sealed, and I'm not going to open it. You know, it's a record store day release. It's an achingly gorgeous cover, and this one stays sealed. I've probably got about half a dozen records in total that for one reason or another I've left sealed, and this will be one of them. So there we are, coloured vinyl 45s in all different myriad shades. I absolutely love them. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is coloured vinyl your thing, or are you a black vinyl purist? Just before I do go, because we've been talking coloured vinyl, and because tail end of last year, or at some point last year, I revisited my 1969 Elvis vinyl, and looked at various bootlegs and unofficial releases that I'd got in coloured vinyl. Well, this one arrived a couple of weeks ago and I think deserves a special mention. This is Elvis Presley appearing at the International Hotel, Las Vegas. This is in a protective sleeve, so you are going to get horrendous glare. I'm sorry about that. But this is the purple vinyl issues. They're calling themselves the International label, which obviously is rubbish, but whoever they are, have produced a really nice release here. So this is the August 21st 69 Midnight Show, which they're saying is the first time it's been released on vinyl, and I've got no reason to argue with them. And this is a beautiful release. Really, really nicely done. You know I'm a sucker for 69. If something 69 comes out, I'm going to grab it. And there is your purple vinyl with a really nice label there. Both of them are purple, the same. In fact, when I got this, I thought I'd been sent the wrong one because it didn't specify purple vinyl. But it turns out if you got the purple sticker, that was purple vinyl, and the black vinyl had a black sticker on the front. So all was well. But yeah, I just thought I'd share that one because that's a recent arrival, and that's, you know, it's really, really good. Really good. You know, so I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. But anyway, that's it. That's all my coloured vinyl singles. I think just wanted to share them for no other reason than they're pretty. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. As I said, I love reading comments. There's nothing like it when you folk take the time and trouble to communicate in the comments and get a bit of a sort of almost a community feel. There's nothing better for me. That's the best thing about doing this channel. Anyway, enough of me waffling. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hugely appreciate it. Until the next time we see each other, look after yourselves. Take care. Ta-da.
We'll meet you again. May God bless you. Adios.